Welcome to Big Bird's workshop. This project is the construction of some outdoor chairs, or refurbishment of some outdoor chairs and construction of a cafe table. Here I'm just breaking down the chairs. They're just a metal strapping construction with timber slats. Had a bit of trouble with one particular nut, there's always one, and hit it with some lubricant. Tried to undo it that way, but wouldn't budge, so grabbed the hacksaw, realised that the hacksaw blade was blunt. I didn't have a spare, resorted to the Dremel, nicked the top off the nut, and voila, it was loose. As you can see, there's a fair bit of oxidized paint on the chair legs and a little bit of surface rust. I didn't show it on the video, but I put a metal wire brush in the drill piece and cleaned the chair legs up. They came up quite well. Structurally they were quite sound. The slats were made of hardwood. They were quite weathered, so it was a matter of running them through the planer, really just to take the weathering off and bring the natural timber colours back through. There's no twisting or rot evident, and it was just a matter of really just running them through and cleaning all the edges up. They did have a round over shape on them, so once I finished with the planer, it was a matter of then running them through the router bit, a round over router bit on the router table. There's a fair bit of repetition. There were 18 slats in all that had to be cleaned up. This round over piece basically cleaned all the sides with the exception of the ends. There was a fair bit of weathering at the ends. The checking wasn't too bad. The timber was still structurally quite sound. So it was onto the cross-cut sled. I just set up a stop block so I could take the same amount off each end. That didn't really change the reference points for the bolt holes, so that the final assembly would still fall into alignment, but it just cleaned up the ends so that there was a nice timber edge on the ends. Once I finished with the crosscut sled, it was a matter of putting some paint onto the metal of the chair legs. They were fairly cleaned up, still quite sound, so I just suspended them and used a high gloss epoxy enamel paint just in a pressure pack, as you can see. That gave them quite a nice cover and a high gloss feel. The final cafe table will have a liquid glass, high gloss liquid glass finish, so the chair legs being high gloss will actually match that. Being an outdoor piece, it should really pop in a bit of sunlight. The timber slats will cop 2 coats of polyurethane cover just to protect them from the elements. The seats will be designed to be outside, so it's just to give them a bit of longevity. Just covering any little cracks in the cafe table here. The cafe table was made from an old hardwood door with some red gum surround on it, just to give it a bit of a contrast. Any little cracks or holes would suck up or soak down the epoxy finish and create a sinkhole, so I had to fill them all up. And all I did was just create a little bit of sawdust and rub it into the filler so that it blends with the natural timber surrounds. A bit of epoxy enamel on the base, and that really finishes part 1. Part 2 will be the final construction of the top and the finishing of the project, and then final construction. Thanks very much for watching. Welcome to Big Bird's workshop. This project is the construction of some outdoor chairs, or refurbishment of some outdoor chairs and construction of a cafe table. Here I'm just breaking down the chairs. They're just a metal strapping construction with timber slats. Had a bit of trouble with one particular nut, there's always one, and hit it with some lubricant.